Welcome to another episode of Follow the Brand TV. I am your host, Grant McGaugh, CEO of 5-Star BDM, a 5-star personal brand and business development company. I want to take you on a journey through another deep dive into the world of personal branding and business development using compelling personal stories, business conversations, and tips to improve your brand. By listening to the Follow the Brand TV series, you will differentiate yourself from the competition and build trust with prospective clients and employers. You never get a second chance to make a first impression. Make it one that will set you apart, build confidence, and reflect who you are. Building your 5-star personal brand is a great way to improve your skills and knowledge. If you have any questions for me or any of my guests, please email me at grant.mcgaugh@5starbdm.com. Now, let's begin with our next episode on the Follow the Brand TV.
Five-Star BDM, Brand Development Masters, is a professional consulting and advisory group keenly focused on business development services for the small to mid-sized business and entrepreneurs. Although every business is unique, they often share business development challenges that can be addressed through smart branding. Services include process improvement and operations, digital strategy and transformation, business intelligence, digital marketing, and personal branding. Our business and personal branding company has helped a number of professionals and organizations to optimize and grow. This results in more business, more opportunities, better reach, positive outcomes. Visit www.5starbdm.com today to learn more.
I'm Brian Bennett. I'm the CEO and Chief Leadership Innovation Officer for the Elite Leadership Academy, and it's a privately funded organization to provide leadership training and improvement throughout all industries. We work with CEOs all the way to managers. My definition of leadership is someone who directs and inspires a team or an organization to achieve a particular goal. So you have to have all four. You have to direct and inspire. You can direct all you want to, but if the people don't want to do it, they're going to do the job and leave at 5 o'clock. Okay? And you can't just be inspirational and not give any direction and be lost walking around in circles. You have to have a team or organization to work with, and you have to have a goal.
Welcome, everybody, to the Follow Brand Podcast. We're going to go all the way up to California. We're talking about San Diego, California, not LA, not San Francisco. We're going to the most beautiful place in California, in San Diego, and we're going to talk to one of the most beautiful persons that I know I've met, talked to before. We're talking about Brian Bennett. I mean, he has some amazing, amazing skills that he wants to impart to a lot of people in leadership. This is a must listen to podcast. If you're in leadership, you're trying to figure out the pulse of what's next. And I guarantee you, if you're trying to utilize strategies that you did 5, 10 years ago, maybe even 5 months ago, you're going to be in for an eye-opening understanding of what's next and what's coming down the pike. So, Brian, would you like to introduce yourself?
Well, thank you, Grant. I'm Brian Bennett. I'm the CEO and Chief Leadership Innovation Officer for the Elite Leadership Academy, and it's a privately funded organization to provide leadership training and improvement throughout all industries. We work with CEOs all the way to managers. We work with everybody. And, we have data. That's one thing that's really, because I'm a data guy at heart, but I like to analyze things. So I had pulled some data from our assessment tools, and we have so much information we know about these leaders that they don't even think they don't even know how good or bad they're doing their leadership gaps.
And that's amazing. And we are in a data-driven society. We're a digital-first society. So the fact that you're utilizing data to actually inspire leaders to be better leaders, and a thing that you just put out, I looked at that, and it was saying something to the fact that leadership skills are not all what you need. I mean, you need more than that. Talk to us a little bit more about that.
Well, everyone has some kind of leadership skills, whether they're born with it, whether they learn it or whatever like that. But the problem with what we teach leadership nowadays is focus on the leadership skills. They don't focus on having a practice and improvement routine to get better at it. You have to work at, my favorite phrase is lead every day, because you have to practice to be a leader every day. And the examples I always like to throw out is looking at some of the sports people, like the GOATs, like Michael Jordan and Tom Brady. They were okay when they came in the league, but they got so much better because they practiced hard. They weren't settling for what they were when they came in. They got better, and they knew they had to, change their physical nature. They had to do the shots, their practices. So they got a whole lot better because of that. And that's the same way leaders need to think about it. You have to focus on, okay, this is who I am now. I want to do this. I need to get better at it. I need to keep working at it. When I start off a workshop, I ask people, who wants to be a better leader? And if everybody doesn't raise their hand, then I say, you need to all raise your hands. Everybody should be trying to get a better leader. Okay. I'm still learning how to become a better leader.
And I think that's so important. Leadership skills starts from the bottom as well as the top. We need to understand we all need to be better leaders. How do we manifest more of what's within us in the endeavors that we're undertaking? Now, the thing I loved about working with you, and I took one of your mini courses, you invited me out there, and you had this process. But before we talk about that, I want to talk about you as a brand. Like, what motivates you to do elite leadership training? I mean, what was your Michael Jordan moment or your Tom Brady moment? Let's hear about that from Brian Bennett.
Well, it's funny you asked that because, I've been teaching leadership since about 2008 at the graduate level, university level. And while I was teaching it, I started listening to the theories that they were expounding in the classes. And I said, this makes sense. This doesn't make sense, and so forth. And so I came up with my own kind of leadership plan, leadership philosophy based off of that. But what really brought it to a head was, my background is in analytics, like I mentioned, but I was working in healthcare analytics because I knew when healthcare was going electronic, they needed somebody with my skills to help them out. But when I was speaking at a big conference in Chicago one time, we asked people, it was a 3-hour workshop, asked people what was the biggest challenges of healthcare, implementing healthcare analytics. And people thought it was going to be, the talent or the data and so forth. By a long shot, not even close, were leadership issues. Like who owns the data, where's the data housed, all these things that leaders need to decide. And then there's the thing that really scared me was we asked people what their titles were on the surveys. And we broke them down between people who are wide span of control, who are like C-level executives, and to vice presidents, and then to narrow span of control, who only control basically what's in their purview. And the answers were the same throughout. The CEOs, the executives still thought leadership issues were the big problem. It's like, okay, you guys don't understand what your role is right now. That's the problem. That was the emphasis of my second book. My first book was on analytics, the second book was on healthcare leadership.
And that's insights. And you don't know what you don't know. No one has a 360-degree viewpoint on themselves and in life and what they influence. And I believe you're helping people to do that. We're in a digital first society now. And the fact that you've been using data-driven methodologies to help leaders to be better managers, better analysts, maybe they need to be better advisors. Where does that go? I mean, what kind of insights have you really gained from the studies that you do?
Well, one of the things that we found is, we always do. We always ask people their titles on their survey forms. So we've been using the same tool for now for about 8 years. And so we were able to break it down between C-level executives, vice presidents, directors, supervisors, and so forth. And the three things that I found that the most interesting was at the C-level executive level, they're not practicing leadership. They're going on autopilot. They're really good at visioning, but the rest of the stuff that they should be doing, they're not doing that anymore. They're on autopilot, which is, the visioning is good, but you still need to be trying to practice leadership. That's one. Two, at the vice president and director level, they're still striving to become leaders. So they're still practicing leadership. So they're aspirational. But then you get down to supervisor and manager level, and they're not getting any leadership support whatsoever. They're just barely, and that's the problem. We all know that. They promote somebody, especially in technology functions. Oh, this person's a great programmer, this person's a great DBA, let's make him in charge of the team now. Well, you know what? He or she may not be the best person to be in charge of the team. Or they may not want to have the responsibilities. There was a project I worked on at Microsoft. They asked me to help build their first global analytics department. So we had to put together job descriptions, career paths, and organization charts. And one of the things we came out of that was we need to have multiple career paths for people. Some people who just want to be, a programmer or, database administrator or whatever, and someone want the responsibility. You have to make sure the jobs are both engaging.
I've had the opportunity to serve large academic health systems to private not-for-profit health systems. But what hasn't changed, Grant, is the focus on the people. So my story is one of accountability, putting people first, building strong physician relationships, and making sure that our organization is effective and stable and successful so we can serve our community and support our staff to be successful and achieve their personal and professional goals as well. For those that are listening in the healthcare field, look to make a difference and look around and make sure you're having an impact on those you serve. Take the initiative, go outside the four walls of your organization. Don't just wait until they get sick and they need us. Go out and see what you can do to learn about the organization and be a strong partner to the community and the people in the community.
Grant McGaugh, CEO of 5-Star BDM, is turning heads in the healthcare and information technology sectors with his groundbreaking approach to personal branding and business development. By challenging conventional strategies, he's setting a new standard for how executives present themselves and their businesses to the world. McGaugh's expertise isn't just about standing out. It's about strategic guidance, generating leads, and building networks that propel executives beyond their competition. His focus on authenticity allows leaders to leverage their unique stories, driving exponential growth and success in their industries. Beyond branding, McGaugh is a fervent advocate for diversity, equity, and inclusion in the workplace. He's committed to helping organizations cultivate environments where innovation and collaboration thrive through inclusive cultures. And for those eager to dive deeper, McGaugh hosts the Follow the Brand podcast. Here, he unpacks the intricacies of personal branding and business growth, offering valuable insights for professionals eager to redefine their identities and share their narratives with the world.
Man, this is so interesting. And it begs me to ask more, better questions. The biggest question I got now, after you just kind of went through that, is how do you define leadership? What is leadership and how do you define it?
Leader is somebody who, my definition of leadership is someone who directs and inspires a team or an organization to achieve a particular goal. So you have to have all four. You have to direct and inspire. You can direct all you want to, but if the people don't want to do it, they're going to do the job and leave at 5 o'clock. Okay. And you can't just be inspirational and not give me a direction and be lost walking around in circles. And you have to have a team or organization to work with, and you have to have a goal. If you have those four things, those major components, then you can lead.
See, this is important. And I want people to really tune in and understand what you just said. And I want to even go back further when you're talking about people that are, maybe they've been in a supervisor role, maybe they're managers, maybe they're just a sole contributor, but they may or may not be looking into, a higher promotional role, let's just say, or even entrepreneurship, because you still have to lead in an entrepreneurial type environment. How do they get the skill set? I mean, you can go to school, you're a professor, doing things at I think different universities. I think you mentioned University of Maryland, Northwestern, some others.
Right.
But how do you get this skill set? Do you take a course in leadership in college, or most people, they get out there, they just start doing work, like I said, to get the technical skills, but to get to the opportunity to lead people leadership is a whole nother animal. How do you get that kind of acquired skill?
Well, you start off, you're taking some courses to give you some foundations in leadership. That's why the first day, our courses we do with a 2-day on site, or if we're doing our leadership circles, The first session is all about the foundations. What is leadership? Talk about the definition of leadership, talk about the innate qualities of leadership and so forth. Get that, and then you start working through, okay, now how do you put that in practice? You put together your leadership vision, you put how you're going to execute on that vision, you reflect on how you did, and you have a coach or mentor who says, okay, Brian, great job on that, but you could have done better on that one. Okay. So, the key thing is if you're sitting in a leadership program and they all teach everyone the same subject, all the same skills, then you're in the wrong program. You need to have a program that's going to be personalized. Takes what you're good at and say, okay, Brian, this is what you're good at. This is how you should lead. Help you figure out how you should lead based on who you are. Everyone can't lead I can't lead like you. You can't lead like me.
Wow.
Two different people. We have different skills completely, I'm sure.
Well, that hyper personalization is so important. And I see that happening now in our society, that we're breaking away from that cookie cutter. It's okay.
Yep.
There's personalized learning. There are certain things that are foundational, as you said, fundamental. But then there's that point where, all right, where are you at? Because we're experiential, meaning we experience things differently. And that's going to form our beliefs. It's going to form what we trust in. That's going to dictate what our actions are going to look like, and what is all that going to come out. Now, I want to ask you this, because I'm into personal branding. How do you feel personal branding fits within the leadership ecosystem, especially in career development and business development?
Well, it depends on what kind of brand you want to have. My brand is, I'm a leader. When I'm working in corporate America and so forth, I'm a leader. I get things done. So that was my brand. I was the one. Some of my clients call me, I'm the fixer. When stuff is off track and the product is not on track, they need someone to come in and straighten it out. I come in a few months, I got it straightened out and working smoothly again. So, but that takes leadership. You got to be able to get people to do what they don't sometimes may not want to do. And that's the challenge sometimes.
That's a huge challenge. And right now what you talked about is branding in a particular organization. You're that guy. Everybody knows you're the fixer, all right? How do you get outside of that now? You have to have a bigger digital presence. You've got to have an expanded reach. And you've got to be known as that fixer in realms that you're not operating in a daily basis, but you never know. You want to be that guy when they're going to have a conference, or you're going to be invited onto a show or a podcast like this, that you're known for something. Now, you're known for leadership. There's no doubt about it. I'm going to tell everybody, and I hope you can give us more information about your program, because I went through just a small little bit that you gave to people that joined your session. It was an online conference, and I joined this session, and you kind of walked us through some modeling that I thought was very impactful to help me go like, this is something I should really pay attention to. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Well, using coming from the data standpoint, once again, I think the session you saw was what we call our leadership resources management solution. And that works on the individual, team level, and the organization level. As an individual level, it helps us using our basic assessment to understand who you are as a leader. That's what we use in all our classes. I can say we've been using it for the last 8 years now, and it helps understand who they are as a leader and find out their gaps and so forth. When you start getting into the team level, that's when we did a couple of projects last year, and we had one this year where we're taking their initial individual assessment and having their team members assess them using almost the same tool. It's the same structure, but the questions are worded differently.
Yeah.
And so they say, okay, well, Brian is a really good leader. There's a general question to say, Brian is a great leader. I may think I'm a great leader. The person who reports to me or my peers may say, well, Brian has a lot to work on.
That's correct. I hear what you're saying. Right.
And And then there we did a project on the project we did last year. It was really great because it was a huge organization, and the people that we were working with, they we found that we found introverts, we found toxic leaders, all these kind of things, because leaders who thought they were great, but the team says no, you're not.
But there's a lot of that going on.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone, there's misalignment. You have a perception of yourself, and you have a perception of how others see you. And then if you can take people out of context, meaning, oh yeah, tell me about Brian. They don't know I talked to Brian. Just tell me about Brian. And I get this whole image, and I read through that like, okay, that sounds good. Then I go talk to you. You don't know I've talked to them. And then it's all right, Brian, tell me about yourself. And it's like, wow, is this guy in the same, ball game?
Same person, that's right. And and that's why we use the data approach, our assessment tool, to help people understand where they are before they start taking one of our programs, and where they are, 3 months, 6 months, and 12 months later. Because most programs, all they do is they either have a feeling that they say they feel they're doing better, or they have interviews. So you may talk to me today and say, Brian, you're doing great. And somebody else may talk to me tomorrow and say, Brian, you still have a lot to work on. Because, as bias is built in all kind of, subjective measures. That's why objective measure is the only way to go to measure leadership effectiveness.
Leadership has to come from the heart. It has to come from those that really have a passion and a connection back to their why. How do we create more value? The goal is creating more value so that our patients get the results and they get the outcomes that they need more successfully.
My name is Denzel Ross. I am the president for the South Central region of Indiana University Health, based here in Bloomington. And so I've had a lot of great opportunities prior to this. Was in Tucson, Arizona, spent some time Albuquerque, New Mexico, San Antonio, Texas, and Kansas City with multiple different organizations of different sizes. And it's just been an awesome experience, an awesome ride. And so I am excited by the opportunity to share some of my learnings that I've had along the way. Well, I think it starts with the want, right? People who want to grow, people who want to be developed, people who want to be coached, and is open to taking on that additional function and additional task. Because the last thing you want to do is put somebody in a position that they don't want to be in.
Man, who's your favorite podcaster? Man, Grant, man. I love Grant's podcast. Well, who's Grant? I'm going to send you the link. I love Grant.
Follow the Brand TV broadcast host, Grant McGaugh, as he visits with top executives and entrepreneurs to find out their secrets of success with their personal brand. Follow the Brand TV broadcast host as he focuses on brand development to build better relationships, bring value to your business, relationships, and career. You will enjoy listening to each episode that is tailored to speak to you directly. If you're looking for this type of clarity in terms of building your brand, you have tuned into the right station. Each episode will help you to shape a conversation in the 5-Star BDM network of 20,000 professionals and become a springboard for your corporate engagement and business opportunities. Each guest will frame their story in the areas of personal branding, business development, career development, financial empowerment, and technology innovation. Grant McGaugh explains why he is the CEO and owner of his own professional career. Grant is an accomplished business leader and entrepreneur who wants to give back to individuals to grow their personal brand strategy. Tune in as he weaves his story about new possibilities, while to you exceed expectations. If you love storytelling, this show will make for fun.
Talk to me about if you, and I'm sure you have a few, you've been doing this 8 years, a success story where somebody came to you, went through your program, they had a current state and they had a desire, and then now they're at a different level because of what they went through. Can you share with us some of the things that maybe someone else may be able to gain by engaging with your coursework?
Well, one example I can talk about is we had a person when we first started the assessment tool. You know, I had this person took one of my classes and they took the assessment and so forth, and they came out, they were okay, but over the years, as they take the risk assessment again, and as they come back and talk to me about different things, I've seen them grow as a leader. I mean, not just me personally talking to them, but I can see their social media platform, the social media outputs and everything, and they are like, I was like so happy with this person. It's like, wow, you have really grown as a leader since I first met you. And
that's what we want to see, is that transformation,
yeah,
that they apply the principle. Don't just read it like, oh, you know what, that sounds great, but apply it and then be able to assess growth, right? You can see the difference.
Yes.
Now you're about to do couple of seminars, conferences that you got coming up. And I know you talked a little bit earlier about some topics you're going to talk about. Share just a little bit with us about what you're going to be talking about, and more importantly, why did you pick those particular topics?
Well, like the one topic about leadership skills not being enough, because that's all I ever see on social media is about leadership skills, and that's not how we teach it in graduate school. It's not taught that way. It's taught as a process. People need to learn the process. You have to, learn who you are. You need to come up with your own leadership vision. Plan to execute on that vision and so forth. And the key thing about it is that process. I'm kind of proud of this, Grant. So just bear with me for a minute.
No, go ahead.
It's been adopted by the military for new leader training. So they came to me and said, we need to set up on a leadership program. I looked at it and I said, it was Navy originally. It's all Navy stuff. And, and so I said, you need something that they hang stuff on. So we show them the process, and now we add all the Navy particular stuff to that process. And so now when they teach it, they teach the concept, and then they say how you're going to do, deck level leadership and all this other kind of stuff. And it's been great. They even do it now. They do 3 classes a year, about 80 people each on that program.
And that's your program? That's your intellectual property?
Yep. Yep.
Wow. That says a lot. Now, how many books have you written?
I've written 3. The first one was on healthcare analytics. And then after I found the challenge I talked about earlier, the next one was on healthcare leadership. And then during COVID, when hospitals were kind of busy, I wrote the the general leadership program.
It's kind of busy. Yeah, they pull their hair out. They probably like, Brian, this is a whole new kind of leadership here.
I know. So I just wrote the general leadership book, took the old book and just kind of rewrote it basically. And so, yeah.
Now, these are important topics and understanding. One of the things I do within my own framework is that, I have a BRAVE framework, as I call it, right? And the R in BRAVE is research. And I've seen you do a lot of research. You accumulate a lot of data. You look at these things almost scientifically so that you come to almost a mathematical outcome. Like we know that 1 + 1 = 2. That way we put things together so the desired outcome. 1 + 1 will get the desired outcome of 2. Do you apply that kind of principle to your particular program?
Yes, I do, because I'm always researching. I learned early on, when I first started my first book, someone told me how to help, pull my research together. So now, as I'm reading articles and stuff online and so forth, I clip it to my research. And so now when I sit down to actually start writing the chapters of the book, I can say, okay, chapter 1 is this topic, pull all my research and, outline the chapter based off of that. And I like having the quantitative part because, not just because I'm a analytics person, but because that's undeniable. You can come with opinions all you want to. My favorite sayings is from Peter Drucker, the famous management consultant. So without data, you're just another person with an opinion.
You got that right. There's a lot of people, a lot of opinions out here these days, I tell you. What are your facts? What are your resources? What is your
That's
proof
right.
of work? I need a little bit more empirical information to substantiate what you just said so I can understand behaviors, which are so important in what you're doing, especially in leadership skills and leadership training.
Eric Pupo. I am the Director for Commercial Health IT Advisory at Guidehouse. We're the second largest healthcare management consulting firm in the United States. I help to run our technology advisory business across areas in cybersecurity, cloud, artificial intelligence, working directly with CIOs, CTOs, CDOs on a lot of their pressing IT strategy, operational challenges, and thinking ahead about where technology is going in healthcare overall. It's one thing to talk. It's another thing, can you then take that to pilot, to build something out? And a lot of times in consulting, you're doing like program development. You're like changing the business.
Desiree Smith. I help entrepreneurs, business owners, and leaders craft their authentic personal brand story so that they attract the clients that they want with confidence, power, and prowess. The transformational training, when you see it, and I get to see it when I'm in front of people training them, I'm a reader of eyes because eyes don't lie.
Greetings. I am Grant McGaugh, the CEO and guide behind 5-Star BDM, your sanctuary for business transformation. Here, enterprises are reborn through the harmonious synthesis of strategy and state-of-the-art technology, all under the illuminating embrace of artificial intelligence. My journey is fueled by an unyielding passion to unlock the boundless opportunities embedded within technology. Here at 5-Star BDM, we intertwine with the quintessential values of our clients, meticulously crafting roadmaps that resonate with precision, adaptability, and harmony. We relish addressing challenges, transforming them into stepping stones and guiding organizations to ascend to new peaks by leveraging avant-garde solutions. Our Follow the Brand podcast series is a convergence of pioneering thoughts and groundbreaking ideas, where industry luminaries and revered guests unravel the multifaceted tapestry of technology and innovation. Diving deep into the core of operational essence, we at 5-Star BDM orchestrate swift and transformative changes, refine processes, and amplify customer experiences, all through the eloquence of AI and digital mastery. In synergy with our value partners, we marry technology, tenacity, and creative intuition with ensuring every encounter within your digital sphere is not just functional, but a harmonious symphony of delight and substantial impact. With 5-Star BDM, you're not simply constructing a business. You are sculpting a progressive journey, morphing every opportunity into a symphony of success. So let's innovate, elevate, and thrive together, turning opportunity into success and innovative brilliance. Reach out and commence this transformative journey by going to 5starbdm.com for more information. I wanted to ask you this because we're now in this digital first society. Artificial intelligence is a game changer because now you can get data at the speed of light, basically, on a lot of different things. And you can get written information, in a blaze if you know how to input it correctly to get a desired outcome or result or some insights. How has that changed what you're doing in your programs?
Well, we are actually in the process of adding some more AI content in the program and some how to use AI a little bit better. But some of the things that we've been talking about with our team is, when a leader has to make the decision, it's so easy, instead of going through spending hours looking up stuff and looking up stuff and getting supporting that documentation. Use a chat GPT or some other AI, generative tool and say, what are the consequences of doing this or not doing this or something like that? Pull it together and then say, okay, now this makes sense, this doesn't make sense, and so forth. You still have to apply the human brain to it, because it's not perfect. And that will help the leaders do things a lot faster and be able to respond to, some things a lot faster.
I think that's so important. Speed to market, speed to the answer, timing is everything, especially in our our society that's running at breakfast speed, basically. I wanted to ask you this because I think it's so it's very important. Let's just say a person says, I don't need to work with Brian. I don't need leadership training. I don't need leadership skills. They're already in a particular, role. So they look past that. What would you say to an individual with that kind of attitude?
Well, I have a quote, a Brian Bennett quote. It says, the moment you believe you learn, you know everything about leadership is the moment you cease becoming a leader, cease being a leader. Because there's always something more to learn.
Yes.
I mean, just think about it. In one of my programs, I talk about, one of my speeches, I talk about how leadership has changed over the years, over time. And one of the examples I use, which I'm using in a session about leadership skills, is that, Star Trek. Look at Star Trek. Back in the 60s, Captain Kirk was the only one in the middle of the deck. He was in charge. Everybody did what he said. Flash forward 30 years later to the next generation. We had Captain Picard sitting on the deck, and you've got his number one to his right, and you have his counselor or his coach or whatever you want to call her, next to him. And when decisions come up, you say, "So what do you think? What do you think?" Turning sideways and looking at them and asking for their opinions. And that's the way people have to be nowadays. You have to be more inclusive, yet because no one knows everything. Back in the day, people thought they knew everything, but they didn't. But now people have to admit that they don't know everything and need help.
I think that's so important to understand that everyone has a particular skill set that they're very, very good at. Like just put a football team analogy. That guy right there usually is the best person that can throw a pass, I would say, or maybe the best person that can read a defense to that effect. And then there's somebody else, that person there can run very fast, or they're able to catch very, very good. So everyone has a particular skill set, and it depending on the situation at hand, what is the challenge in front of you? Is it a mental challenge? Is it an emotional challenge? Is it a physical challenge? Is it a spiritual challenge? Whatever that challenge is, you should have at your disposal others around you that are experts in those fields that can help you understand the situation. Because I've seen that a lot as well, as that people just don't understand, what is that IT department doing? I don't know what they're doing. They're doing this whiz bang stuff. I don't need to know about that. Or somebody's in HR. I don't need people management programs. I don't need to know about that. So how do they got to bring all that together and speak that common language to solve a common problem that I see a lot on. Now I'm going to ask you, do you do team coaching? And you know what? Just bring in your team, not just an individual. Talk to me a little bit more about your elite leadership program.
Okay. Typically, we do most of our programs. We can do them either individually, people in different companies, or we can do it as a team, in part of the organization. And we work typically in smaller groups. We don't. I'm not trying to train 200 people at a time. Some people are trying to do that. I don't think that's very efficient because I'm trying to get people to have their own personal leadership vision. When you walk out the door, they want them to know exactly what they need to do individually. Not what Brian did, but what you need to do. So that's important. So we work with the teams and say, and that's even the most fun because then we can sit around and talk about different things that happens in the organization. You're in the same organization, say, hey, this is a problem we've had. So how do we solve it? And we get their input from other groups that they may have even talked to before.
That is so important. Everything you said is just, you've got to have that catalyst to have that happen. Now you're doing a couple of different talks that you got coming up. Tell us about where you're going, who you're talking to, and then how to get in touch with you via your website. Is it on LinkedIn and that type of thing?
Well, we have I'm all over LinkedIn. You can just Google my name. You'll find me out. I post regularly, probably 3 to 4 times a week. And then I do articles about twice a month also. So you find me all over LinkedIn, and you find some of my photos on Instagram. I take most of my own photos. I'm an avid photographer, so I do that also. But as far as like my speaking, I've got the thing with the Filipino American Chamber coming up soon. 3 topics, August, September, and October. I have another event coming up with the San Diego Tech Hub here. And then I've got and put together, I call it speaking information package, which is my own speaking portfolio. And in there, I talk about some of the topics that I've done before that people really liked. And they've gotten really good ratings. So if people want to hire me for a corporate event, they can do that. From there, just go to eliteleadershipacademy.com/speaking. It's very easy to get to. Tells you all about my, who I've spoken for before. You have the portfolio, see some videos out there and so forth. So, and you can, send a booking request from there.
I like that. And you also teach at a couple colleges, right?
That's right. Right now I'm teaching a marketing research class, marketing research and analytics class. So
I
that
think
keeps
that's
me busy.
important. Market research and analytics. I got a lot of entrepreneurs that listen in to the podcast and need to understand, some people, they just want to run out and get brand assets, together because they like the cool video or the dynamic website to get a lot of information, but they haven't done the research to understand the marketplace. They can become more unique and a differentiator. And you've got to pull all that together to do that. So leadership runs into a lot of different gamuts, and I really, really appreciate it. Before I let you go, is there any one thing that we haven't talked about that you really, really want to get off your chest and let the audience know?
Well, I think the thing that's the most important to realize is, any kind of getting any kind of leadership program has to be process driven. That's number one. It has to be personalized to individuals. It has to have follow-up coaching and mentoring. Okay. Without that, you're never going to you have no one to talk to. We just talked about how important it is to have someone to bounce things off of. And then it has to be measurable. That's the number one thing. One thing that most leadership programs do not have is any way to really objectively measure how well they're doing. So I just wrote an article, published it last week. $60 billion a year is spent on leadership training programs. And it's in the United States, $60 billion. And most of them don't know if it's any good, if it's doing any good or not.
That is a shocking stat. And I love that, because you've got to be able to evaluate what you're doing and measure it, because you don't know if you're missing the mark. And I love that what you're doing, you have a feedback loop, right? You've got to have a feedback loop that aligns to everything to see if this is being effective or not. And I've seen a lot of people, another leadership program, here's another, and they keep going, and it doesn't stick. Nothing is done. Right. But what you just described there, the process and the personalization, that sticks. I've gone through some different training programs, leadership programs, and I remember the ones that stick, and those are the ones that really resonated with who I was and where I needed to go. And I still utilize those principles today. And some of that was, to your point, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. So I love the portfolio that you put together, because everything doesn't have to be brand new. You can still get great information and guidance from things that were done, in the past. That's why a lot of people reach into the past when they're looking for insights, because it's still applicable in the foundational state. So I really, really like it. Thank you, Brian, for being on the Follow the Brand podcast. I want to encourage your entire audience to look into all the different episodes that we've had, because they're there as a library of knowledge in different areas, whether it's in executive presence, or it's in technology innovation, or it's in career and business development, or financial empowerment, or personal branding and brand mastery. All these things are there, because I know people can look back these last 3 years that I've been doing this program is to get information. to understand, like, hey, if I try to start off on my own, yeah, I'll get there, but it's going to take me a lot longer. Do you have the time to do that, or do you want to get there quicker by talking to an expert like yourself? And I encourage everybody to look into your program. This is so important. Thank you again for being on the Follow Brand Podcast, and tell everybody they can tune in at 5-Star BDM. That's the number 5-Star STAR BDM. That's B for brand, D for development, and for masters.com. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you, Grant. Appreciate it.
Your journey has to be your own strategic plan, your personal strategic plan. You have to know what you want. And I'm a person who believes in writing goals and try to, quarterly look at those goals to see if I'm achieving them. And I've been doing that now for about 20 years. And generally speaking, I achieve about 70% of my goals.
I think for the person looking to come into healthcare, the young person coming to look into healthcare, someone maybe like me, Afro-Caribbean descent, looking to come into a profession, those opportunities are there. Again, leverage the great opportunity that we have in this country of access to education. Use that as a tool. It will help you. Don't give up even if someone says no. If you're focused, seek a mentor. Read about whatever it is that you're looking. If you have a goal, establish that goal. Read about it. Do your education. Do your homework. And more importantly, engage with others, such as the different societies that we're a part of that help get the word out. And making those connections and doing that, I think it'll be very helpful for that next generation of leaders and workers in healthcare coming in.
Ready to build a 5-star brand that stands out and captivates? Discover the art of crafting a strong and memorable brand identity. From choosing the right colors to making your brand unforgettable on social media, we guide you every step of the way. Learn how to design a brand that resonates deeply with your audience, ensuring they not only remember but love your brand. Whether it's enhancing visual appeal or mastering social platforms, we have got you covered. Dive into the world of impactful branding with us and see the difference. Follow the brand for more insights and expert tips. Don't just be seen, be remembered. Join us now. Ready to elevate your brand and make a lasting impact? Dive into the world of the Follow brand where insights meet action. Shop now at our e-commerce store for exclusive merchandise that speaks to you. Transform, engage, and soar with 5-Star BDM. Your journey to brand brilliance begins today. Tune in for our next show or click on our website at www.5starbdm/followthebrandtv. Thank you.